Welcome to our first Java program, CIS106 student. So a couple things I got to point out here. I'm looking at course topics. Let me turn this back off. You look at week 1. When we get into the Java portion of this, and you might even see this back in Module 1, I failed to mention something here. The way this is set up, I think it's not so much, yeah, it is in Module 1. So one thing that you're going to run into is, and I didn't realize this was the case in Student Mode because it looks different for me, is there's other information in here that you can navigate to with this table of contents down here at the bottom. So to me it's a little bit, well, I guess it's okay. But it's going to pop up other tabs. So just make sure you open up the table of contents and you navigate through these pages, because there's other content that you will be expected to review as to what is in each module. So I'm going to go back into Module 2, and you'll see in Module 2 that we've already looked at this first document, but there's a lot of other information here that you do need to look at, such as the Java virtual machine. Review this. You don't have to read this word for word, but you should review it. I would say the big things to really focus on is installing Java IDE. So an IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. It's a fancy programming term for a piece of software that helps me do programming, or it's a piece of software in which I do my programming. So this will tell you how to install Java itself as well as an IDE. Now the IDE that our course coordinator uses is JGrasp. I typically use a IDE called Eclipse, but because this is a whole changeover and all of this content is, not all of it, but a lot of it is made using JGrasp, I'm going to go ahead and go with JGrasp this time around. Which I might stumble a little bit because I haven't used JGrasp for quite a while, but it's fine, it'll work. The first thing I'm going to walk through is this basic Java application called Hello World, but you should review all of this content, but I'm specifically going to look at this installing Java and an IDE. So when you go to this, there's a couple other things we want to make sure they open, and for some reason they may not open for you, so you have to click here. Apologize for this, but what we are really concerned with is that we will need to follow through the instructions right here that our course coordinator has made for us, and these are step-by-step directions that show you how to install Java itself, because we need a Java development kit. So we need the Java stuff, so to speak, first, and then after we install the Java development kit, we need an IDE. So this IDE is going to be JGrasp. Again, you can use whatever IDE you want. I really don't care. You can use Eclipse, you can use BlueJ, you can use NetBeans. There's many other IDEs you can use. It doesn't matter to me, but if you're new to this, you might want to just use JGrasp, because that's what is traditionally going to be used in most of these documents. So I'm going to try to stick to my guns using JGrasp, even though I myself am new to JGrasp. So follow through these directions. The first thing you have to do is install the Java Development Kit from Oracle. So we will be using the Java Development Kit version 8. You will see, I believe there's some newer versions of Java. I believe we're even up to Java 10. But we're going to stick with Java 8 for now. So you will need that first, because JGrasp is not going to know what to do with your program when it goes to run if it doesn't have the Java language interpretation, so it can compile and interpret the information. It's not going to know what to do with it. So you have to make sure you install the Java Development Kit first, and then install JGrasp. So I'm not going to insult your intelligence. You can walk through these directions, but when you're done, you should have JGrasp installed. So what I'm going to do, and by the way, there's links here. If you want to get to the Java Development Kit, there's some links here that can get you to it, as well as JGrasp. So there's links right here to that. So that should help a good bit. So what I'm going to start with is I'm going to start with trying to build this Hello World program. So the first typical program that we will make, and this is just kind of a common convention, is this program called Hello World. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch JGrasp, but before I launch it, I strongly recommend that you create a folder for your Java materials. So here I have a folder called CIS106, and of course I teach this many times, so this is my fall 2018. And I've made a folder in here called JGrasp Stuff. You could probably have a better name, such as like Java Programs. But inside here I have nothing right now. I'm going to save my first Java file in here. Sometimes you may refer to this as a workspace. JGrasp is a little bit lighter with not expecting a workspace, although it would be great if you had a workspace. A workspace is just a common folder in which you save all your Java files. So I'm going to go ahead and launch JGrasp, and I'm going to do so because I have it installed. I'm just going to go ahead and click on my Windows indexing tool and just go find JGrasp. Whoops, it might help if I type it right. So I'm going to go ahead and launch JGrasp. Now there might be some messages that come up. I can't remember when this first opens up. So if you see some different messages, I apologize. I do not remember what they are. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a first Java folder or Java program. But I want to make sure that I'm telling it that I'm going to end up navigating to that folder, my 106, and then fall 2018, and I'm going to use JGrasp Stuff. So right now there's nothing in here. You'll notice that one thing you can do with JGrasp is you can set up a workspace. So there is a way to actually tell it that you want to make this a workspace. I'm not that concerned about that right now at this moment. So what I want to do is I want to actually create this first Java program. Now it is very tempting to copy and paste, and yes, you can get away with doing that, but I would suggest you try to get in the mode of typing. It's going to help you a good deal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new Java, I'm going to file new Java, and I'm going to create a new Java file. So at the very top of this puppy, I'm going to put some comments. So comments are usually indicators to help the developer, the Java programmer, with either who made the file, some information about the file, or it might be just comments to indicate why you did something within your program lines of code. So here at the top, I'm going to type a / asterisk. Let me see if I can enlarge this a little bit. / asterisk, and after that I'm going to put my name, the date, the file name, which I'm going to call this hello world.java. That's the name of the file. It's going to be a Java file. And I'm also going to put just a brief description of what this does. It's an intro for Java output. This is all comments. This is no bearing whatsoever on how the program runs. I'm going to end this with an asterisk /. So after this, I need to tell Java. Java likes everything to be inside what is called a class. So I'm going to have to tell Java this is going to be a file that can be seen by other Java code. So it is a public class. And what is the name of this? The name of this has to match this file name. So the name of the class must be the exact same thing as the file name without the .java. So it is a public class called Hello World. You'll notice that the colors are changing. This is JGrasp trying to make my life a little bit easier. So now for Java, I need to tell it, I need to say, hey, everything we do inside all of this class code is in between a left curly bracket and I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to come down a few lines and add a right curly bracket. So everything we do is going to be between this left curly bracket and this right curly bracket. In my case, at lines 8 and 9. So inside here, I'm going to add a procedure that Java will read as the first thing that it does when it launches this class. And for the first, I would say, 5-6 weeks, we're going to be doing most of our work, well, with a few exceptions, we're doing most of our work inside this procedure. This procedure is called main. And you will see back inside here, we have named our class, and now we're going to be making this thing, this main thing. So there's a lot of names here, there's a lot of words here are going to be thrown out. Don't worry so much about the meaning of some of these words that are changing purple. Just for right now, I'm asking you to just trust me that this is what we need to make things work. I'm actually going to add one more line so that we can see this a little bit better. Please also note that I am indenting. I'm hitting the tab key one time. This is not required, but it is a really, really, really good idea. It's also a best practice to actually hit indent or tab so that you're basically visually aligning everything to indicate that what is inside this class hello world is indented in one level. So what I'm going to do is create a procedure for main, which is a public procedure. It is also a static procedure. This will make more sense down the road. And I'm going to say that its type is a void type. Again, another word that'll make more sense down the road. The name of this procedure is called main. Notice main does not change color, because all these things that are changing color, these are reserved words for Java. In other words, Java says, hey, I reserve and I have special meaning for public. I have a special meaning for the word class, special meaning for static and void. So all these things have special meaning to Java. So what am I going to do? I'm also going to add this string args section. So after this, I need a left parenthesis, string with a capital S, square brackets, left and right square brackets, and then the word args and a right parenthesis. But wait, there's more. I'm not done yet. It's a long statement. We need another left curly bracket. I'm going to come down a few lines and do my right curly bracket. So all of this stuff, and we haven't actually written a line of code for a statement for output yet. This whole thing is basically what tells Java to start to look for what is inside this thing called main. All of this stuff will make more sense here in a few weeks. So all these words, public, static, void, main, string, args, you just have to kind of, for right now, just trust me on this, that it'll make more sense in a few weeks. So you will need this. You will need this for every single program. Well, not all of them, but most programs you will have to have a public, static, void, main. This is a procedure. It's kind of a method or a function called main. Everything starts here, inside main. Java's going to look for main to do its thing, where it's going to start everything. So what are we going to do inside main? I'm going to come down one more line. I'm hitting the tab key one time because I want to basically visually indicate that everything is in between this left curly brace and this right curly brace that is inside main. And what is going to be inside here? We need one line of code that does output. So for Java, this is Java's convention. I have to type capital S YSTEN dot out dot PRINTLN. This is not a 1, it is an L. So system.out.println, left parenthesis, double quotation. Then here's what I want to display. I want the words hello space world to display. So I'm putting it inside a set of double quotations, which is encapsulated inside a set of parentheses. And one more thing, probably one of the most important things that Java requires, at the end of almost every statement, I must have a semicolon. So all of this, this whole line of code at line 12, all this does, this says, hey Java, look into your system stream, the output stream specifically, and let's print. It doesn't really mean print, it really means display. Let's display what is inside these parentheses. And oh, what's inside the parentheses? Oh, it's literal output. It's inside double quotations, so it's just words. What are these words? I want to display the word hello, then a space, and then the word world. I could, for good measure, put an exclamation point after it, just to be fun. So now, how does this run? How do I get it to run? In JGrasp, you can click on this little tiny guy, and it's probably going to ask us to save this. You'll notice that there's an asterisk hanging out up here. So let me see if it does do that. Oh, it says, do you want to save the file now? So I haven't named the file. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to save it. And notice that when I click save, it by default is going to save it in that folder where I started. And it's going to call it hello world.java. That is what I must call it. Hello world is the name of the class, and this is a .java file. So it must be called hello world. Notice there's no spaces. And notice I'm starting with a capital H, which is a best practice to start with capital letters. I'm using a convention called camel case, which is a best practice, not required, but I'm using camel case because I start with a capital letter, then lowercase, 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 capital letter, uppercase, then lowercase when I name the file. I'm going to go ahead and click save. And now, when it runs, I click the run guy, I have to save it first, and then when it runs, look what it does. Wow, it displays that output exactly as I told it to. I can put whatever I want inside these double quotations. Anything's fair game for literal string output. String meaning characters. A string of characters, a collection of characters, if you will. And that is how we create our first program, Hello World, which is exactly what this walks us through. So what you are to do, I'm going to go all the way back. See if I can get back on. Might be quicker just go back this way. I'm going to go back and take a look at your first assignment, the Java programming activity. What you are to do is to create a file called intro.java, and this PDF will walk you through step by step what you are to do, which is very similar to what we just did here with Hello World. But here you have to have not one but 3 lines of output. How many lines of output do you need? You need 3. And then when you're done, this file should be called intro.java. So when I created my Hello World file, where did that actually save? I'm going to go back into this JGrass stuff and look at this. I can see there's a hello world.java and there's one called hello world.class. This is confusing. Beep, 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 beep. Pay attention. This is confusing. The .java file, that is the file that I can see back in JGrass. That's this thing. This is the .java file. When I ran this, Java compiled and interpreted and created this thing called .class. So, although I could open that, it's not going to make a bit of sense to me because that's what the Java software development kit created and understands. The interpreter understands. So when you submit a file to me, what you're going to submit is the .java file. So even though, this is confusing, even though the .java file says it's a class, it's code for the class. So this .class is something that is generated. I don't need to see that. I'm not going to be able to make heads or tails of that. When you submit code, you are submitting the .java file to me. So for this first activity that I'm asking you to submit, for this programming activity, you're going to be submitting a file called intro.java. So go ahead and walk through this. Please make sure that you meet all the criteria for this, and when you are ready, you will click on the assignment name, and then here you can browse your computer. And what you're going to do, I don't have this assignment yet, but you will see that what you'll have is inside your Java project folder, you'll have a file called intro.java. Not hello world.java, but you would have intro.java. And that's what you would actually submit to Blackboard for me. Questions, please email me, let me know. When you go to do your Java exercise program, it's going to be very similar. Follow the directions, read what it says. If you have questions, email me. So there's basically 2 files here that are very similar in nature as to how they are created. They will be .java files, and they're basically just dealing with output. This assignment's worth 5 points. This assignment is worth 10 points. This assignment has this step-by-step directions where the exercise does not. So you're going to have to read these brief directions up here at the top. Please make sure you give me comments. Any questions, please email me. Good luck on your first Java coding assignments.